inspired your design for these forgotten tribe?
Again, that was, and we're still sort of developing that, which is the fun part about that, is we're just taking, I wouldn't specify one area, I'm trying to combine different elements of, what we think these people would look like based on sort of the telling of the story in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And we're using some things that may or may have not been seen in other familiar movies, and I have to, give nods out to like some of the like Hills Have Eyes, and there was another movie that came out in the 90s. It was called No Escape. Some were maybe familiar with that, where this prison system lived in this like jungle environment, and I was kind of using this indigenous sort of background and the characters, the way they looked. And then another piece, maybe been even going further back, like The Road Warrior. Everybody should know that one. Just the savageness of the characters, and just everything's either organic or sort of self. I don't know. I'm kind of dragging that, but you get the idea. I'm kind of using mixed elements and trying to make that in its own little world.
Tell us about our four heroes.
Let's see.
What's their story? How do they get involved?
Well, without giving names out, so far, a majority of these guys were military or they're prior military. They weren't necessarily bad eggs by any means. They just all had different paths they followed through as far as how they got out. Most of them or all of them were pretty good shots themselves. I mean, they grew up in the outdoors. It is Michigan. So these guys were, sort of, in the woods all the time, hunting and stuff like that.
Outdoorsmen, survivalists.
Exactly. And so when, I kind of put them in that combined sort of environment, you got these guys that they know their way around the woods. They do have a sort of, primarily military background from all that experience and deployments and things like that. And this was a good way to kind of put them back into like this little brotherhood by them, putting together this like rescue mission. And I think this would kind of bring out, that whole sort of badass sort of regimen between these guys. It gives them some sort of a, purpose.
Are any of them romantically involved or related? What's the motivation behind them wanting to go rescue these two girls besides going to rescue these two girls?
Oh, the leader of this rescue group is the brother of like the lead role in this character, being Alex, and her friend Tammy. Of course, they're just best friends from school and things like that. And so ultimately, it's a brother and sister thing. There's some other family ties that have to do with this story, but it's primarily, brothers trying to, watch out for the little sister and that sort of thing.
Totally.
Of course, she's stubborn as all hell, and so it's just a matter of okay, we got to do what we can and bring her back and things like that. So without not diving too much into the details of it. So,
can you give us just a little teaser about the end? Does it end happily, or?
Yes and no. You can't ever unfold too much. Again, we're still sort of in the rough stage of the development. I mean, as far as the script goes, we have a definite ending, but how we want to kind of blend those, ends of the stories, so to speak, it all depends on how we're able to have those characters kind of tell their story. And again, I have to keep going back because it isn't still in development phase. I mean, before production, we're still sort of gathering the elements to see if we can actually, put on the table specifically how I would like to, design sort of scenes and events, how they unfold. And of course, we'd like to see all the, spectacle and the specifics and the graphic design, but,
yes.
When you're working with a limited arsenal of supplies and budget, it can restrict your sometimes way of telling the story the way you really would like to show it. So we may have to, I wouldn't say cut corners, but we may have to improvise a few scenes to make things work in our, the benefit of still telling the same story. So
But the challenge is part of the fun, though, right?
absolutely, I love it. So
Well, writer, producer, director, dream weaver, Chris Krupe, thank you for joining us tonight.
thank you.
And all of our viewers out there, hope you've enjoyed this interview, and have a wonderful night.
Come see our movie. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. That's good.